This target for this session is composed of two individuals, David Barnea and Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, David Barnea is the head of Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency, and Benjamin Netanyahu is the current Prime Minister of Israel. Now, the focus of this remote viewing session is what each of these two individuals knew in advance about the attack by Hamas on Israel that occurred on the 7th of October 2023. Now, we are interested in what they knew 2 days before the attack. The remote viewers knew nothing about the nature of this project or the target when collecting their data. Moreover, none of the remote viewers who worked this target communicated with one another about this project in any way during the data collection phase. Now, the motivation for this project is that Mossad is arguably the second best intelligence agency on Earth, where U.S. intelligence is arguably the best, mostly because it is larger. Mossad and U.S. intelligence are very comparable in quality. The issue that is being raised here is the same issue that every Israeli asked the day of the attack. With the highest quality intelligence agency in the world, how is it possible that an attack of such magnitude, one which took many months of preparation in order to launch, could have gone unnoticed? There are only two possible answers to this. A. Either the highest quality intelligence agency in the world is totally incompetent, or B, they knew about the planned attack and decided not to stop it. The idea that Hamas tricked Israeli intelligence by avoiding the use of electronic communication is not credible, since it is certain that Israel also has human intelligence in Gaza and within Hamas. For anyone who knows anything about how modern intelligence agencies operate, this cannot be in dispute. Now, we at Farsight are not going to tell you what to think. We are simply going to show you the remote viewing data, which we collected under very defendable blind conditions by the best remote viewers on the planet in a scientifically clean experimental design, and then we will let you be the judge. But just in case you are thinking about alternative B, that the Israeli leadership may have let the attack happen, let me offer you some lessons from history. There are many reasons why a nation would want a perceived enemy to strike them first before responding. If a nation believes that a war is inevitable and perhaps desirable for any reason, then it has long been standing practice to let the perceived enemy make the first move. This strategy of warfare goes back a very long time, but the modern-day history of this approach dates back to Otto von Bismarck, the former Chancellor of Germany. Now, before he was Chancellor of Germany, there was no Germany. There was only a bunch of principalities comprised of German-speaking people, and Otto von Bismarck was an advisor to King Wilhelm I of Prussia. Well, back in the day, King Wilhelm wanted to influence who was to be King of Spain. France was then ruled by Napoleon III, not Bonaparte, but a descendant, and France did not want Prussia to interfere with Spanish politics, lest France be surrounded on both sides by potential enemies. Now, the French ambassador to Prussia asked King Wilhelm not to do that, and Wilhelm wrote a telegram to Napoleon where he politely refused. Again, politely. Well, Bismarck wanted to create a crisis that would force the German principalities to unite into one nation. So he intercepted and altered the telegram, essentially giving Napoleon the bird. Well, Napoleon popped a cork, and France invaded the German principalities. This is exactly what Bismarck wanted. The German principalities were shocked that they were invaded for no reason, and they met and formed the German nation. Unified, they fought back and quickly defeated France and captured Paris. Bismarck then had his German nation. This pattern of enticing an attack in order to rally a nation to respond militarily has been repeated regularly since then. Before the United States entered World War II, Churchill met with Franklin Delano Roosevelt on a destroyer in the North Atlantic, essentially begging Roosevelt to enter the war. But FDR had a divided nation, and there were many people such as Joseph Kennedy, father of John, Robert, and Ted Kennedy, who were fiercely opposed to coming to the aid of Britain or Europe. Roosevelt knew that the Nazis were the larger threat, but he also knew that there would be an incident in the Pacific, and he told Churchill that he had to wait until that incident so that the people of the United States would be united and no opposition would exist to them entering the war. FDR did not want to enter World War II the way Woodrow Wilson entered World War I. Defeating the Nazis would take a level of focus that could not survive domestic squabbling. Then Pearl Harbor happened, and the U.S. entered the war in both the Pacific and European arenas. Now, this history is not just me talking. This was clearly told by Turner Catledge, former executive editor and vice president of the New York Times. You can watch Turner Catledge talk about this in a short documentary available on YouTube and narrated by Henry Fonda, titled Roosevelt, Hail to the Chief. There is another short documentary in the same series that expands on this, Roosevelt, Manipulator-in-Chief. Now, this does not mean that Roosevelt knew the exact date and nature of the attack on Pearl Harbor, but maybe he did. I don't know. But he knew something was going to happen, and he wanted something to happen, and he had to wait for it. There are, of course, other examples, such as the Gulf of Tonkin incident involving the USS Maddox, an American destroyer, then operating in North Vietnamese territorial waters in August of 1964. This led to the U.S. Congress passing the Gulf of Tonkin resolution that enabled the United States to fight the Vietnam War. Now, President Johnson, appearing incensed that the U.S. should be the victim of a brazen attack, pressed Congress to pass the Gulf of Tonkin resolution in order for the U.S. to be able to defend its forces. Well, it turned out that the first of the so-called Gulf of Tonkin incidents involved only momentary small arms fire that created a single bullet hole in the USS Maddox. Furthermore, the second incident did not occur at all. These facts are not in dispute. The only thing that is in dispute is whether or not President Johnson knew he was lying to Congress when he urged the passage of the Gulf of Tonkin resolution, or whether he was merely duped by his advisors into thinking that the dual attacks were both real and serious. Regardless, the Gulf of Tonkin incidents, real or fabricated, were used as the justification for the U.S. entry into the Vietnam War, and the United States was presented as the victim. You may also be interested in watching Farsight's 9/11 project. The stronger you believe that leadership would never do something, the more you give your permission to leadership to do exactly that. The safest bet is normally not to blind trust leadership ever. If you believe authorities are always telling you the truth, you are probably being duped. Never underestimate what they are willing to do. If they think it is important for whatever reason, they will do it, if they think you are gullible enough to believe what they say. Again, we are not trying to tell you what to believe. It is just that triggering war by having the perceived enemy attack first is one of the most basic strategies for initiating conflict. The party that initiates conflict is always perceived as the aggressor, and the party that is attacked is always perceived as a victim. And victims are considered justified in responding with whatever force is necessary. With regard to the attack by Hamas on Israel, the magnitude and horror of the initial attack was certainly shocking to everyone, including David Barnea and Benjamin Netanyahu, regardless of whether or not they knew the attack was coming. But Hamas was a growing threat, and it is conceivable that Israeli leadership felt that a war with Hamas was inevitable eventually. Hamas has long been dedicated to the eradication of the State of Israel, so Israeli leadership could have decided that war was going to happen no matter what. And if such a war was inevitable, then it would be a big war, because Hamas is a big enemy. And it would be best if Israel was seen as the victim rather than as the aggressor in such a conflict in order to minimize the worldwide fallout. Again, we do not know if this is what happened. These are just thoughts and a bit of history to consider. It is time now to turn our attention to the remote viewing data themselves. Remember that we could always be wrong, but we really do know how to collect high-quality remote viewing data, and it is our mission to share what data we obtain. So, let's begin.
Hi everybody, here we are with another session with Yeme Jeaneé. So, Just to make sure, Yeme, you are completely unaware, completely blind. You don't know what the target is?
Correct.
All right, fantastic. So, completely unaware of the target. Let's just start off with the general environment. What'd you get?
Got some peaks, clustered peaks. Both natural and man-made land. The base surface is natural. The land within it has man-made qualities. We've got some movement, structures, multiple structures, and subjects within them. The structures are scattered about, and then I have some that are pieced together, city-like. Deduct that a little bit, but I also have a large central structure that I've kind of zoomed in on. I'm not sure if this is the target structure or not, but it was very prominent, squared and dome-like, large. I don't recall if I made deductions or not, but I do remember feeling Taj Mahal type energy or White House like a natural environment around it, pretty flowers and stuff, looks nice. The landscape looks nice. And then you have these beautiful peaks behind it and what looks to be a city or multiple structures close together.
All right, fantastic. So, great description of the environment. How about let's move to subject A and describe what you're seeing there?
I've got a man here, a male subject. This male subject is surrounded by other subjects. Multiple subjects are surrounding him. I see darker skin tone. He's got on formal wear, business attire-esque. He is currently the center of attention, seems to be speaking, standing above most. So where he, platform maybe, where he is he can overlook the subjects he is speaking to. At the target time, he's standing. He's got a large smile, very personable, very visible. I see a moment where his arms are outstretched. He has a slight manipulative energy, but I've come to realize most people who speak do, who are speakers. He wants what he wants, seems to want something at this moment, like a form of status, seeking approval, a little bit shady or sketchy. So, the subject's mind is very political, and he wants to win something. Moving into a deep mind probe here, just so I can go deeper into this. Yes, a very political mind, stuck on winning. I hear him speaking, telling others different things. They're cheering. What is in his mind is not what he's saying out loud. It's like what he is saying is what he knows they want to hear. What's in his mind is the truth. I can feel there being a reason on why he is not telling his truth. Feels like he might be that might be what's keeping him where he is. I guess I don't know what that means, but like where he is, like him not speaking what's currently in his mind. He's hiding secrets. The thing is, I feel I feel almost guilty or bad for telling on him about this because I feel like his secrets are there for good or helpful reasons. I originally felt like he was sketchy or untrustworthy because I could tell that what he was saying wasn't what he was thinking. But I could tell that he was hiding something. But once I went deeper into his mind, I could tell that he is not trying to harm anyone with his secrets. He feels like a good person. Whatever this is, he wants to help. He wants to shift and change something. But he can't in this current position that he is in. He must get into a different place.
All right, so any thoughts about concern 1 when it comes to subject A's mind?
He is very concerned about this. This seems to be where his discrepancy is. He doesn't fully agree. He doesn't agree with this particular method. It seems like whatever this is, it's not for the true betterment of the people. He seems a little fearful. I can't pick up on what about I also feel a bit of nervousness. Moving in deeper, so he knows a good bit about concern 1. However, he also knows there is more he has not been told. There we go again with those lies. This feels very biased. That's the word. This feels very biased, but dual-sided. I keep getting the ring of like electoral politics. I keep getting the taste of there's something going on inside that no one is telling the people on the outside. As a whole, this subject seems to basically have to go along with this very public ploy that he does not agree with. I just feel like I'm throwing this guy under the bus. I hope that whatever he needs has happened already because it needs to happen. Okay, but I really hope I didn't get him in trouble.
Very interesting. All right, so let's move on to subject B. Any descriptive elements to subject B?
Very pale. Pale man, messy hair. Messy to me, anyway. Kind of scruffy. This subject reminds me... Oh. I have a random deduction of Donald Trump. I don't know if it's because of the hair. This is the way the hair looked. It was like a flash of like his hair. Energetically and visually, like just at a glance. He talks a lot. He interrupts a lot. Wants you to believe him. He seems kind of full of it. His mind is rowdy. There's a lot moving in there. Very loud in here. It's not peaceful in here at all. I'm kind of nauseous being inside his mind. Whew. He is a disgusting creature in here. His mind is polluted. Junk spills out of his mouth. Like he opens his mouth and just junk spills out. I feel like his friends should tell him about himself. Oh my. Oh yes. Like he. Yeah. Just personality is Terrible.
I see. All right, interesting. So let's move on to subject B in the deep mind probe with regards to concern 1.
Oh wow, yeah. So he knows all about this concern. He is all for it, gung ho. His viewpoints are very not something I agree with. He's a liar. I get that energy of liar, cheater. He is not concerned. And when I mean concerned, like there is a concern, he's not hyper concerned about this. About this concern. He doesn't agree with anything. He doesn't agree with anything that he feels is forced. He is forced to trust or have to deal with. Makes him feel controlled. He doesn't like feeling controlled. He feels this way because he knows the truth. I have a random deduction of vaccine.
Okay, so what are your opinions about subject B? Is subject B forcing subject A in regards to concern 1?
Indirectly. Whatever subject B is a part of is who is forcing subject A. So subject B is a part of a something or a situation. That's who's forcing subject A.
I see. Okay. So what is subject B's goal relating to concern 1?
Mass control. The masses. Live in fear. Take away free will. Be at the top. I don't know what that means. Maybe I have win here. Keep his people in the front line.
Interesting. So, final perception, does event E surprise the subject? And why don't you just check both subject A and subject B?
Subject A is very, very surprised, but also he felt something like this coming. So it's like, oh, like he's shocked, but then also like, oh, I knew that was going to happen type of energy. Subject B, yes, he is surprised, but not as much as subject A. He kind of seems annoyed.
All right, so I know I said this at the beginning of the session, but just one more time. Yeme, are you aware of any of these subjects, that their true identities or any aspect of this target? Are you completely blind to the target?
Completely blind.
All right, fantastic. So let's go on to the target reveal. All right, so the target reveal. Basically, we're going to start off with subject A. Subject A was David Barnea. I am not sure I'm pronouncing that last name right. It's Barnea. So David Barnea. And basically the general target for this was David Barnea and Mossad. So basically...
And the what now?
Mossad. That's the Israeli sort of special forces, kind of like their Navy SEALs, I guess, in a sense. But yeah, basically that was subject A. Subject B was Benjamin Netanyahu, which is the current leader of Israel. I think he's the prime minister or president. I think he's the prime minister. And so that is Benjamin Netanyahu was subject B, and concern number 1 was the upcoming Hamas attack on Israel. So that was the one that just happened, basically. And event E was the first day of the Hamas attack on Israel. So that was specifically that first instance. So the concern 1, I guess, being the more general Hamas attack on Israel, and event E being that first moment, that first day where the Hamas attack on Israel occurred.
Can you say all of that one more time?
Yes, I can. So, subject A, David Barnea, and subject B, Benjamin Netanyahu, and event E, the first day of the Hamas attack on Israel, and then concern 1, the upcoming Hamas attack on Israel.
So concern 1 is it being upcoming.
Yeah, so when I say upcoming, it's, I guess, the more general, because they're currently in a war, so it's the more general identity of the conflict that's going on. And for event E, that's just that first day, that first instance of the Hamas attack on Israel. So that is basically the target. And you got a lot of very interesting bits of data here, especially through the DeepMind probes. So, you can actually Google right now to see how well you did on the descriptions. You had this David Barnea guy, you got him with a person with business attire, formal attire. If you Google the guy, he's literally just in business and formal attire. Now, he is the Mossad chief, David Barnea. So,
Mossad chief.
Yeah, so he's basically the head of, I guess, the Israeli version of
the government?
It's like a Navy SEALs, CIA type of group.
Okay.
And so that is basically a very elite military group in that country. Basically, that's the way to say it. And so basically, Benjamin Netanyahu, he is the leader of the country, while the leader of that very high-ranking intelligence military apparatus of the country being David Barnea. So that was subject A and subject B, and you went into their mind and you basically got their opinions, their feelings, their bits of their knowledge about how they reacted and how they felt about the Hamas attack on Israel. And it seemed that it was somewhat surprising, but not entirely. It seemed like there was...
The attack.
Yeah, the attack. It was... You had the event E. That was the last perception. You have event E with subject A, David Barnea, the chief of Mossad. He was very surprised, but he felt like something was coming. So it seemed like that was a bit of a... He had energy in both camps with that one. Subject B being Benjamin Netanyahu. You said that he was surprised, but not as much as subject A. He seemed more or less just annoyed at the whole thing. But it was very fascinating. You had this whole... With regards to concern 1, it's more the general upcoming, the idea of the Hamas attack on Israel, the whole sort of general scope of it through time. You had some very interesting perceptions with the head of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu.
Stuck on winning. Okay.
Yeah, stuck on winning. That was very interesting. Being on top, his people being in the front line. And basically controlling over the masses. It was a very interesting set of DeepMind probes. So it's does not agree with anything, feels forced. Yeah, you had a lot of stuff on that. So let me sort of back off here. Do you have any questions or comments about this whole thing?
Well, as you are tying it in, because with this being something, I don't watch the news much just because it's... I stopped watching it when I was pregnant. It was too depressing. So I have not picked that back up. I do find things out via my session. So I'm now kind of listening to you put it into perspective because I'm still I haven't fully connected the dots yet.
Yeah, it's... I mean, you had a lot of good matching data for quite a bit of the descriptive elements of these subjects. Netanyahu has quite often been compared to Donald Trump in a lot of political circles. But that is just articles here and there. I'm not sort of saying that as a de facto statement, but I've heard that in other articles, or I've seen that, read that in other articles. So I'm not. That's not an opinion of mine, but I've just seen that, and you picked that up in the session data. And he does have hair, and it sort of has this sort of a. It's not messy, but it's wispy. Yeah, it's longer hair.
Can I see a picture?
Yeah, you can Google him. It's not really wispy. It's just sort of. It's hair. He has hair.
It's doing hair stuff.
His hair, and it's doing hair stuff, and it's gray, entirely gray. Yeah, it was very interesting stuff. You basically had a lot of. It was interesting because you kept saying that there were this public ploy, not really agreeing with it. There was a lot of attention onto the masses, and this is between both subjects A and B with regards to Concern 1. So it seems like maybe involvement with Concern 1 had a very big element on how they interacted with the masses as well, with sort of things. So you picked up on a lot of stuff that sort of implied their positions in what they're doing, as well as the situation at hand, their sort of leadership positions in that country.
I am looking through my session, and the secrets. What did I say? It's got a lot of secrets. Like there's something he's saying out loud that's different than what's in his mind, and so now I'm curious about what that may be about, especially with this being a war or the uprising of a war coming. What does he know?
It was very interesting. You have this, specifically looking at some of your deep mind probes with subject B, which is Netanyahu. You describe him as being all for it and gung-ho with his viewpoints, and you didn't really find his personality very agreeable. But in sort of his... He is facing quite a bit of corruption charges in the country as well. He is facing quite a bit of... He has faced quite a bit of criticism for more hard attitudes in terms of the militarization of things in the country. But that is something that I was sort of wondering if that was something that you were sort of picking up on with this sort of gung-ho force attitude that you were sort of picking up when you were getting the initial personality traits in the deep mind probe. So that was just something that I thought was very interesting right there. But yeah, you got a lot of interesting stuff with regards to this Hamas-Israel conflict, dealing with both David Barnea, the leader of Mossad, as well as Benjamin Netanyahu, the leader of the country, Prime Minister of Israel.
And Barnea did not agree with this method. He felt like it was not the best for this country.
Yeah, he was very much against.
But he was also
thing.
In a space where he understood why it might have needed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But he was kind of like, if there's something else we can do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as I'm going in again, like if there is something else we can do, let's do that one.
Yeah. So it is very interesting. It's definitely, he was very much not in favor of Concern 1 sort of happening when that sort of gung-ho energy sort of appeared for Subject B. You also sort of called Subject B sort of a liar and a cheater. And I once again, I started thinking about his corruption charges with the Israeli judiciary.
Right.
And so it was very interesting to see that, and to see sort of that opposing viewpoint with not feeling gung-ho, feeling like this is not good for the people, with David Barnea, the leader of the Mossad. So it is a very interesting session all around. You got a lot of interesting data. Once again, I also try to avoid the news as much as possible, so I am no expert on any of these things. However, I can say that you did a wonderful job at describing subjects and doing a great job with remote viewing. So,
Thank you. I am in an interesting space right now.
Any other questions or comments for this?
I think I'm still processing.
All right.
what I'm hearing, especially with this being information I'm not following. So I'm getting new information that I basically already had. So it's just, I'm disappointed.
Yeah, well, it's only time can tell as to sort of the specifics of what's been going on here
Right.
in terms of these attitudes and these feelings. One other thing, once again, this is just stuff that I see on the news whenever I do tune into it, which when this sort of event happened, I did tune into the news just a little bit, and they said stuff like how like Egypt tried to warn Israel that this happened. The administration disregarded it. I'm not sure anything more beyond that sort of thing. So
Jesus, my friend was just there, bro.
Oh,
They just.
I see.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well,
Okay.
Well, you never. I hope your friend's okay. And
She's back here.
Okay.
She's
Well, that's
back.
great. Well, yeah. So it's
I'm disappointed. I know you probably. I see you looking at me, kind of like, what's happening. I'm in a somber space because the first thing that Dr. Brown told me about remote viewing when I first started, like almost 10, 11 years ago, was that remote viewing was the truth. It's digging up the truth. It's finding out the truth about everything. Things that are right in front of you, lies, mysteries, whatever. And they say the truth will set you free, right? Knowledge. We have that whole power, that whole thing of waking up, right? Wake up and smell the coffee, or just being woke, right? That's a thing that's happening now. People are waking up to the truth, and we're delivering it. And for me, it's knowing that everything is a bunch of bull.
Yeah, it is a little disheartening seeing the
hurts.
lies.
It hurts a little bit because it's like I don't feel safe anywhere right now, and all I'm seeing is lies. All I'm seeing is mistruth. And I see in these minds that they don't care, and they're on top of everything, so they're not going to be touched. It's us that's going to get hurt.
Yeah, that's you're definitely right there. It is a very difficult thing seeing, I guess, how thin the veil of security is around what we feel like is a safe environment on the surface.
And what do we do about it? There's nothing that we can do. I mean, we're doing what we can do. We're telling people.
Getting people into remote viewing is a good thing.
Right, like we're teaching this and we're telling this, but like even outside of that, the government are our religious people. The people that we're supposed to look towards, they are full of shams.
More selfish than we'd like to believe, I guess.
Selfish is an understatement.
Is an understatement.
In the words of Courtney Brown, they're cheating cocks.
All right. So, any other questions or comments?
No.
All right. Well, fantastic remote viewing. A somber topic indeed, but the remote viewing data was very good and great descriptions of the actual targets themselves. That was it's always a wonderful thing to see in remote viewing, to see that sort of parallel. So, fantastic job, Yeme.
Thank you.
All right. Talk to you later.